Welcome, Brilliant Minds, to today's video lesson for November 16th. Today we'll be preparing for our test tomorrow on African geography. So we're continuing our work about what is the geography, what is the land, water, climate like in Africa, and how does it impact people's lives there. Before we get started on this objective, I want to give some shout outs to students who are really taking their work to the next level. The first set of shout outs goes to 3 individuals who worked very hard yesterday to make sure they took their 2s to a 3 on their exit on their proving behavior. So those students are Carlos, Jason, and Josue. Really proud of you guys for earning those 3s yesterday. You worked very hard. And I also want to give out a shout out to another 3 students who worked to bring their 3s to 4s yesterday. Those students are Daniel V, Giselle, and Nathan. Really great job, guys. I love how seeing you write your own ideas in your own words. Congratulations to all the shout outs for today. Let's read our objective. We will determine how geography changed how people lived in Africa by using at least 2 out of 6 concepts in a paragraph summary. So we're going to be kind of summarizing a lot of what we've learned the last 2 days in a paragraph summary after we review those major 6 concepts. Still working on this idea of how geography changes people's lives. Now that I know what we're going to try and do, I want to make sure we know what our goals are to study for our test. So here's the things you can do to make sure that you are prepared. In the order from the most important, the first thing you want to make sure you've done is you want to make sure that you finished your classwork for November 14th, which was classwork 1. You then want to make sure you finish your classwork for November 15th for classwork 2. And of course, today's classwork, November 16th, which is classwork 3. Finally, you can make sure that you're doing your homework, which was Africa, geography, and it's not due until tomorrow, Friday. So you want to start at this list and then go down today to make sure you've completed all of them in order. You want to make sure that if you haven't yet finished classwork 1, go back right now and make sure you finished it. And if you haven't finished classwork 2, go back right now and finish classwork 2 before you begin this video lesson and continue this video lesson for classwork 3. And if you finish this one early, you can go ahead and start that homework on Africa geography. It looks like this, and if you need an extra copy, there's some in the bin at the entrance to class. Okay. If you want to pause this video now to go back to do classworks 1 or 2, go ahead. If you're ready to continue with this classwork for 3, then let's begin. We want to make sure we're talking about the concepts we talked about in the last couple of days to study them before the test tomorrow. So we're going to write concepts here, and we're going to focus on some of those 4 climate zones we talked about. So the first one that we talked about was the desert. It's our first concept, and we're going to make sure we write down 3 things about each concept. We're going to make sure we write down a definition. We're going to write down its effect on human life, and we're going to do a drawing. Okay? So the desert, I'm going to model this first one for you so you know what the rest of your concepts should look like. The desert is a hot, dry land with lots of sand and little water. I'm going to put HGO for water as an abbreviated form. I now want to think about what kind of an effect that had on humans. And we've thought about the effect of humans living in desert when we talked about the Arabian geography, and we also talked about it last class in terms of how it made it difficult for them to travel. So I'm going to write difficult to travel or trade, and as a result had to use camels. Right? They had to use camels in order to be able to travel and trade. For your drawing, you can draw a desert. So I'm gonna see, maybe I'll draw some palm trees. I'm gonna draw some sand, right? And you can now move on to your next concept. So go to the next line, draw 2. And then our next zone that we saw was the Mediterranean. And you want to leave space here for your definition, the effect, and your drawing. Okay, then you want to make sure you're going on to number 3, which was the rain forest. And again, you have space here for your definition, the effect, and the drawing. And then last, you have the savanna, and we have space here for our definition, our effect, and our drawing. Okay. For all 4 of these, if you don't know them from memory yet, that's okay, because we're still studying. So you want to make sure that you go back to classwork 1, where you should have information on African geography, and you took notes on the 4 geographic zones of Africa right here. So you can go back to classwork 1. That's the first place to look. So I'm going to put here that you could look at classwork 1 for more information. But if you feel like your notes are missing something, you can also look back at your textbook. We saw information about these 4 climate zones on page 422 all the way until 424. So I'm going to go ahead and write those page numbers here as well. Page 422 to 424. So if you need help, you can go and look at either Classic 1 or these pages in your textbook. Right now is a good time to pause the video to make sure you're finishing taking notes about these concepts to review. When you are ready, you may continue to work on your next 2 concepts, the last 2 that you want to write notes on. And these last 2 concepts are going to be from Classwork 2. So you can always get ideas from Classwork 2. And if you need more ideas, you can get from 425 in your textbook. Okay, so we're now on concept 5, and we talked a lot about the importance of camels. So for camels, you want to write a little bit about what they are. You want to write about the effect they had on human life, and you want to do a drawing. Okay. When you're finished with that one, you need to pause the video to fix it or finish it. Then you can go ahead and work on number 6, which is caravans. Caravans. You want to make sure you're thinking about those trade caravans, so you want to make sure you have a definition, the effect, and a drawing. When you have that complete, you've finished all of your concepts, and then you're ready for your proving behavior. So skip a line. And for this proving behavior, you're going to go back and you're going to choose which of these 6 concepts do you think had the biggest impact, the biggest effect. So I want you to look at this effect part, and I want you to think about which of those effects is the most important. Which of those effects do you think is the most important? So put a little checkbox next to all the effects, read over them again, and I want you to choose 2 to check. Choose 2 that you think are the most important. Was the desert, rainforest, savanna, Mediterranean? Was it the camels, the caravans? Which are the biggest effect? And then go ahead and check the 2 that you think have the biggest effect, and you're going to write about them in your proving behavior to answer this question. How did geography change how humans lived in Africa. Okay, so how did you change how humans lived in Africa? And you want to use some words, some vocabulary words in your response. You want to use at least 2 of our concept vocabulary words. And you also want to make sure you use some of the other vocabulary that describes cause and effect. So you could use the word caused. You could use, let's change that to affected, impacted, changed, or made. Anyway, see if you can use any of these words as well. Okay, so I would say probably at least 2 of these as well. Once you've checked to see these words, what you plan to use, make sure you're putting a check by at least 2 here and at least a check by 2 here before you begin writing. And you can write your paragraph on the lines below, explaining how geography changed how humans lived in Africa. When you finish your paragraph, make sure you're coming to Miss Casey to get it checked. And not only for your classic points, but if you want that extra candy reward, then I want you to put a star in the margin and then right below, tell Miss Casey what movie or TV show you think she should watch over Thanksgiving break. I hope you're proud of the work you did today, and I look forward to seeing you all got 3s or 4s.